The small town was usually a peaceful place where people knew each other by face, if not by name. Most days passed quietly, with neighbors greeting each other on the street and shop owners chatting with customers about the weather. But on the evening when everything changed, the air felt different, not stormy or dangerous, just strangely tense, like something was waiting to happen. The veteran, a calm man who preferred not to draw attention to himself, was finishing his shopping at the local store. He had lived in the town for years, ever since returning from service. People respected him even if they didn't know his full story. They often saw him helping someone carry groceries, fixing a neighbor's fence, or volunteering at community events. He moved slowly, sometimes his injuries from the past still bothered him, but he never complained. He lived a simple, quiet life, and most people admired him for his humble attitude. As he left the store with a small bag in hand, he walked carefully, making sure not to bump into anyone. The parking lot wasn't busy, just a couple of cars and a few people checking their phones. That's when he accidentally brushed past a teenage boy who was walking in the opposite direction. The bump was light, barely noticeable. The veteran immediately turned and said, in his usual soft voice, "Sorry, I didn't see you there." Most people would brush off such a small thing, but not this boy. He was the police chief's son, known around town for acting like he owned the place. Many people had whispered about how he took advantage of his father's position. He was used to getting away with things, cutting lines, talking back to adults, starting trouble, then having it all smoothed over because of his father's influence. The moment the boy felt the slight touch, he spun around sharply, his face twisted in annoyance. "Watch where you're going," he snapped loudly. The veteran froze for a moment. He was not used to confrontations, especially not ones that came so suddenly. He held his bag close and replied calmly, "I apologized. It wasn't intentional." But the boy wasn't interested in apologies. He looked around to see if anyone was watching, and a few teenagers nearby were already paying attention. He puffed out his chest a little, wanting to look tough in front of them. So now you think you can just bump into me and walk away," he said with a sarcastic laugh. The veteran didn't understand why the situation was escalating. He repeated gently, "There's no need for conflict. Please, just let it go." His calmness only made the boy angrier. Instead of stepping back, the boy took a step closer, almost touching him from how close he stood. "What are you gonna do about it?" the boy challenged, voice filled with arrogance. A couple of bystanders shifted uncomfortably. They knew the veteran never caused trouble. Many of them had seen him around town for years, always behaving kindly. But they also knew who the boy was and how he acted when he felt provoked. One woman whispered to a man beside her, "Why is he picking on him? He barely touched him." The man shook his head but didn't move. People were scared to interfere with the police chief's son. History had shown that getting involved could bring unwelcome attention from the chief himself. The veteran didn't want this to turn into a scene. He tried to step around the boy and continue walking, but the boy moved quickly and blocked his path. "Don't turn your back on me," the boy shouted. And before anyone could react, he pushed the veteran hard. Because of his old injuries, the veteran couldn't catch his balance. He fell backward onto the pavement, landing with a painful thud. His bag rolled out of his hand, groceries spilling across the ground. The sound of his body hitting the concrete made the witnesses gasp. "Hey!" someone yelled. "What is wrong with you?" The boy looked startled for a split second. Maybe he hadn't expected the man to fall so hard. But when he noticed people staring, his expression quickly shifted back to a fake, confident smirk, as if he had done nothing serious. The veteran groaned and tried to sit up, his arms shaking. Years of service had taught him how to stay calm even in pain, but the shock of being pushed like that left him breathless. A young couple rushed to his side and helped him sit up. "Are you okay?" the woman asked, her voice filled with worry. He nodded weakly, but it was clear he was hurt. His arm looked strained, and he held his lower back like something there wasn't right either. Several people turned to the boy. "You can't just push someone like that," a man said firmly. The police chief's son rolled his eyes. "Please, he bumped into me. I barely touched him." "You shoved him," another person spoke up. "We all saw it." The boy crossed his arms, acting irritated. "Whatever, he's being dramatic." But the truth was clear to everyone. The veteran struggled to stand, and when the couple helped him up, he winced in pain. Someone said they should call the police. But the boy immediately reacted. "No need to do that," he snapped. "My dad is the police chief. I'll handle it." That sentence made everyone fall silent. It was exactly what they feared. He believed he could do anything and face no consequences. The veteran didn't say anything to the boy. He simply thanked the couple helping him and slowly made his way to the bench near the store entrance. The woman brought him some water while another man picked up his spilled groceries. Meanwhile, the boy walked away with a careless shrug, as if what he'd done meant nothing. The witnesses watching the scene exchanged looks of disbelief and frustration. "He can't get away with this," someone muttered. "He will." Another person replied quietly, "You know who his father is." And for a moment, everyone thought that was true, that no matter what happened, the veteran's pain would be ignored, and the boy's behavior would be protected. But the veteran had faced harder battles in his life than a spoiled teenager. He knew what it meant to stand up for what was right, not out of anger, but because letting injustice slide would only allow it to grow. Later that evening, after going home and resting, he made a decision. It wasn't easy for him. He wasn't someone who liked fights, arguments, or legal matters. He preferred peace over conflict. But this time, the matter wasn't small. It wasn't about pride. It was about respect, fairness, and everything he believed people should show each other. So the next morning, with his arms still sore and his back stiff, he went to the courthouse quietly and filed a report. He didn't make a scene. He didn't shout or demand special treatment. He simply wrote down the truth, what happened, who did it, and who saw it. When news reached the police chief, he was furious not at his son, but at the veteran. Many people feared the case would disappear quickly, buried under excuses and influence. But then word spread that a certain judge had been assigned to the case, a judge known throughout the district for being strict but fair, someone who wasn't easily swayed by power or reputation. This changed everything. People began whispering in stores, barbershops, and cafes, "Do you think something might actually happen this time? What if the chief can't protect his son? I heard this judge doesn't care who you are." The entire town seemed to pause, waiting to see what would happen next. For once, there was a sense of hope, not just for the veteran, but for everyone who had ever been made to feel small or powerless. The police chief's son, however, wasn't worried at all. He walked around like he always did, laughing with his friends, completely confident that the court would clear him just because of who his father was. But he didn't know the judge, and he didn't know that this case would turn into something far bigger than a simple incident in a parking lot. It would become the moment that tested fairness, responsibility, and the meaning of justice in their town. The day of the hearing arrived quietly, almost too quietly. The town had been waiting ever since the veteran filed the case, and even though no one said it out loud, everyone was secretly hoping the truth would finally win over power. The courthouse, usually calm, felt different that morning. People gathered outside, whispering to each other, trying to guess what would happen. Some came to support the veteran, others came out of curiosity, and a few came because they simply didn't trust the system anymore, and wanted to see whether justice still meant anything. Inside the courthouse, the veteran sat in the hallway, his hands resting gently on his lap. His arm was still healing, wrapped in a simple support band. He looked tired, but his eyes were steady. He wasn't there to cause trouble or shame anyone. He just wanted fairness, something he believed every person deserved, no matter who they were and no matter who hurt them. Across the hall, the police chief's son walked in with a smug expression on his face. He didn't look worried at all. He had grown up believing he could talk his way out of anything. After all, his father always fixed things for him. He gave a confident smile to his group of friends who had gathered near the doorway. One of them whispered, "You'll be out in 10 minutes. The judge won't do anything to you." The boy shrugged casually. "Of course, they all know who my dad is." But he didn't notice the look on his father's face. The police chief wasn't confident. In fact, he looked tense, as if he knew this time things might not go the way he expected. Everyone knew the judge assigned to the case someone who cared deeply about fairness and who made decisions without fear or favor. The chief had already tried to have private conversations, subtle pressure, and anything else that could soften the situation, but the judge had refused all of it. When the courtroom doors opened, the crowd entered slowly. The judge sat at the front, calm and focused, his expression serious but not harsh. He looked at everyone the same way, no matter their social status. The police chief sat beside his son, trying to appear confident, though he kept adjusting his tie and shifting nervously. The veteran sat alone, not because he had no support, but because he felt it was his responsibility to face the matter himself. Yet behind him, several townspeople sat quietly, offering silent solidarity. The judge began by asking everyone to remain respectful and quiet. He then asked for the details of the case to be presented. Witness after witness stepped forward, each describing what they saw the day the incident happened. Their voices were calm but filled with honesty. One woman said, "He pushed the man hard. We all saw it." A man added, "The veteran didn't do anything aggressive. He apologized. It was the boy who escalated it." Another witness explained how the veteran had fallen badly and needed help getting up. The boy shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Each time someone spoke, he kept looking at the judge, hoping to see some sign of favoritism, but there was none. The judge listened carefully to every person, taking notes and asking questions to clarify small details. Then it was the veteran's turn. He stood up slowly, using the bench for support. His voice was gentle but clear. "I don't want revenge," he said. "I never wanted to bring trouble to anyone, but what happened that day wasn't right, and I believe we all deserve to live in a place where everyone is accountable, no matter who they are." His words made the courtroom fall silent. Even the police chief looked down at the table, unable to meet anyone's eyes. When it was finally the boy's turn to speak, he leaned back casually and said, "I think everyone blew this out of proportion. I didn't mean to push him. He bumped into me and it was just reflex. Plus, he wasn't hurt that badly." The entire room shifted uncomfortably. Many people couldn't believe the lack of remorse in his voice. The judge raised his eyebrows slightly. "So you are saying you pushed him?" The boy hesitated, then replied, "Well, yes, but not hard. People fall all the time." A few whispers filled the room, but they quickly stopped when the judge lifted his hand. The judge leaned forward slightly. "And did you apologize to him at any point after it happened?" The boy looked annoyed. "No, because I didn't do anything wrong." The judge wrote something on his notes, closed the file, and looked around the room. The silence felt heavy, like everyone was holding their breath. After a long moment, the judge spoke. "This town," he said slowly, "has always valued respect. We respect elders, we respect those who have served, and above all, we respect each other. But what I saw in this courtroom today is not respect. It is entitlement." The boy's expression changed from confident to nervous. The judge continued. The witnesses were clear. The veteran was polite. He apologized. The push was not an accident. It was done out of anger, and the injuries, though not severe, were real. What concerns me most is the complete lack of remorse. The police chief shifted in his seat. Knowing what was coming wouldn't be the outcome he expected. The judge looked directly at the boy. "You are responsible for what you did, and accountability is not determined by your father's position." The courtroom remained silent, so silent that even the sound of paper rustling felt loud. Then, the judge announced his decision, one that made nearly everyone in the room gasp. He said, "You will not receive a simple warning or a small fine. Instead, you will complete 200 hours of community service at the Veterans Center. You will work directly with people who served this country, cleaning, organizing, helping in any way needed." The boy's mouth dropped open in shock. The judge continued, "You will also attend a behavioral responsibility program for young adults, and you will offer a public apology to the veteran right here, before this court." The boy looked at his father desperately, expecting him to stand up and protest, but the police chief didn't move. He knew there was nothing left to argue. The evidence was clear, and so was the lesson that needed to be taught. The judge then looked toward the veteran and said respectfully, "Sir, I hope this decision brings you some sense of fairness. I thank you for your patience and dignity throughout this process." The veteran nodded quietly. He wasn't smiling, but there was a soft calmness on his face, a feeling that justice, even in its simplest form, had finally been served. But the moment wasn't over yet. The judge gestured toward the boy. "Stand up and apologize." The boy stood slowly, staring at the floor. He took a deep breath and muttered, "I'm sorry." The judge tapped his gavel lightly, louder, and with sincerity. The boy swallowed hard and finally said in a clear voice, "I'm sorry for what I did. It was wrong. I shouldn't have pushed you." The veteran looked at him and nodded, not out of satisfaction but out of empathy. "I accept your apology," he said softly. "Use this chance to learn something good." That simple sentence touched everyone in the room. The veteran could have stayed angry. He could have demanded more punishment. But instead, he chose kindness. It showed a strength far deeper than anything physical. When the hearing ended, people walked out of the courtroom talking about what they had just witnessed. Some said they finally felt hopeful again. Others said the judge had restored their trust in the system. Even the police chief walked out quietly, clearly humbled by the result. He knew his son had been given a chance to grow, not because of privilege, but because someone finally held him accountable. In the following weeks, the boy began his community service at the Veterans Center. At first he worked with irritation, dragging his feet and keeping his head low. But as he spent more time there, meeting people who had real stories, real struggles, and real courage, something started to change in him. He listened to the stories of older veterans, stories of hardship, sacrifice, and resilience. He saw people who went through battles far harder than any argument in a parking lot. Slowly, the boy began to understand the weight of his actions and the importance of humility. The veteran he had pushed visited the center often, not to check on him but simply because he was part of the community there. Whenever their paths crossed, the veteran greeted him politely. There was no bitterness, no anger, only a quiet reminder that people deserve respect. By the end of the service hours, the boy was different. Not perfect, but changed. He learned to speak with softer tones, to listen before reacting, and to understand that respect isn't demanded, it's earned. The story didn't end with punishment. It ended with growth, responsibility, and a small spark of transformation that the whole town noticed. And more importantly, it ended with a reminder that justice, when done right, doesn't just punish wrong, that helps people become better.